All right, what's going on, everybody? Once again, back. It's fight day, and can't have a Wilder Fury fight without some controversy creeping in. Now we have Glovegate Part 2. Issue with Tyson Fury's gloves. Deontay Wilder sent his friend and YouTuber, Tay Jones, former fighter as well, but he sent Tay Jones, who's really not an experienced guy in terms of looking at gloves. He's not a hand specialist like a Russ Amber per se, but he sent him over to check out the gloves that Tyson Fury would be wearing tonight, which are a Paffin glove. They have a layer of foam and then a layer of horsehair on the top of them. And Tay Jones was complaining to the commissioner about the gloves, and the commission already approved the gloves. That there's nothing wrong with them, right? They weighed, I believe, they were 10-ounce gloves per heavyweight requirement, right? 10 ounces. Touched them, said they were okay, but Tay Jones said they looked different. Well, of course they're going to look different because they're a Paffin glove. How many Paffin gloves have you looked at, Tay Jones? It's not a very popular brand of glove. Most people are using, Rivals, Grants, and Everlast. So just because they look different than what you're used to seeing doesn't mean that they're illegal. So, he complained, and I guess Deontay Wilder was complaining, and they came to a compromise that Deontay Wilder would use the MX gloves, which is a glove that is very similar to the Paffin, another horsehair glove, just like the Paffin, layer of foam, layer of horsehair on the top. So they came to that agreement, that compromise, and it seems it seems to be that this is all settled. So there can't be any complaints after the fight regarding the gloves. Go ahead, D-Star. What do you want to say?
I honestly wouldn't even define it as a compromise at all. Actually, a compromise would be if the person in question, in this case Fury, was forced to wear a different type of glove, right?
Correct.
That would have been a compromise. In this case, normal protocol was followed, and Wilder decided to wear MX gloves, which I'm sorry, Joe, but I'm pretty confident Wilder knew all along he was going to end up wearing. He was going to be wearing the MX gloves from the jump. I think he knew that all along. He knew that before he sent Tay Jones out there. He knew that prior. Like, that's just the truth. And look, to add to your point about the Paffin gloves, not only are they a brand we don't see much, even when you do see Paffin gloves, not all manufacturers make the same type of glove. They have different quote unquote models or types of gloves, right? Chevrolet makes sedans, it makes two-door cars, it makes different types, right? The same with gloves. Everlast has Power Lock, as MX, right? So Grant has the puncher's version that Gennady Golovkin wears, right? And it has the the orthopedic style that Floyd Mayweather would wear, right? So there's different types of gloves on top of all that. So maybe Tay Jones has seen a Paffin glove that was not a puncher's glove, right? Or not the version that's kind of like that hybrid version that we're looking at with the MX style, right? And maybe it was just like a, kind of like the Power Lock version of that glove. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's no secret to me, and it's nothing new to me that puncher's gloves are what they are. They've always been what they are, and that's that. So Tyson Fury is allowed to wear MX gloves, not because he is being forced to cheat, because they're allowing the cheater to cheat, which is the narrative that they're putting out there. That's not what it is, okay? That's never been a thing, all right? When Margarito was caught with an old gauze or pads, they didn't turn around and say, okay, well, Mosey, we'll let you wear it too. Well, that's not how it works, okay? If something wrong is found, so to give an example, with a Cleto Reyes glove a couple months ago, right? Last year, that is, they found there was that. Remember that fight where they found that one of them weighed less, or like the horsehair had been it was like a manufacturer error, right? Well, they couldn't actually demonstrate that the horsehair was not where it was supposed to be. That's not what happened in this situation.
Yeah,
it's not. And the explanation that if you hit the top of the glove, it kind of creates a curvature. Yes, I know. That's what we've been trying to explain to the conspiracy theories for months now.
You could do that with foam gloves too, though. I've had foam
No, no, no.
gloves before
I
too.
agree, Joe. But
Yeah,
it's easier to do it with horsehair gloves. You know what I mean?
sure.
And if you want to, if you guys are more than welcome. Go ahead and look at Wilder's MX gloves. They're on my Twitter, okay? Or go to the Everlast Instagram. They're there. The gloves that were given to him before. You will see this curvature that Wilder was saying he had a problem with. I mean, come on.
You guys are making incorrect statements in the chat. Tay Jones put the glove on and said, "I can feel my knuckles." He was complaining that there wasn't enough padding in the gloves. Let's not, you know, go off track here and say things that aren't true. I mean, he put the glove on and he said that he could feel his knuckles. You could put any boxing glove on, and if you press hard enough, you're going to be able to feel your knuckles.
I could feel the knuckles with a 12-ounce bag gloves that I used to hit a fucking punching bag. What does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything. Anyone could say that about any pair of gloves. But here's the problem. Someone just said the issue is that the gloves looked worn and used. Padding is not the real issue. Okay, well, what do you mean padding is not the issue? So let's not talk about the padding then. Old and used. They look wrinkly because every type of glove, including the ones that Wilder's going to wear, look that way right out of the package. That's how it looks.
Well, not only that, it's not like they just had one or two pairs of gloves there. They had a whole bunch of Paffin gloves that all looked the same. Then they cut them open and showed Tay Jones the horsehair and the padding inside. So again, the reason why Wilder stopped using the horsehair gloves is because he broke his hand in 2016 in the Chris Arreola fight and his wrist and tore his right bicep tendon using the gloves. So those are puncher's gloves, but they're not protective gloves. They're not orthopedic, therapeutic type gloves that fighters who have hand problems would do well using. Because usually when a fighter breaks his hand, he uses a glove that has more foam in it because the foam is more protective of the hand than the horsehair is. So there's pros and cons to using those gloves. You can use those gloves and, say these are puncher's gloves. They're going to cause more damage to my opponent, but they're also going to cause more damage to your hand and your wrist. Yeah. So that's why Wilder stopped using them back in 2016. Oh, I was breaking eye sockets and busting up people's faces and noses when I used those gloves. Yeah, but you stopped using them when you broke your hand because you felt that your hand wasn't protected enough.
We have individuals in the chat, babe, that are convinced that those were used up gloves.
So every single pair of Paffin glove.
Like they literally believe that they just broke them in so they could cheat, and then they just put them on the table for Wilder to look at them, and they think just because Tay Jones said, "I never seen something like this," that's like proof. They're convinced. Literally, he's convinced that they were allowed to cheat. So now Wilder needs to fight fire with fire. So he's being forced to wear these type of gloves.
Again, they're at the end of the day, they're both wearing gloves with little padding. So no, they don't have little padding in them. They have a different type of padding in them. Mm-hmm. Okay, and of course they're going to look different because again, foam is more voluminous than horsehair is. It's a different texture, and a glove that's exclusively foam is not going to look the same of a glove that's part foam and part horsehair.
I'm being forced to do this, Beeb. So if you don't mind, let me just any MX glove review, any of them, the gloves are going to look that way. I'm sorry to tell you, and I'm about to show you. But before I show you, just because you went to a sporting goods store or to Walmart or to like a sporting academy store for the training gloves, okay, and you look at those gloves, right? It doesn't mean that's what gloves should look like. Those are training gloves for not even amateurs like to wear those gloves. They're not really good gloves anyway. They're just for normal use, like you just hit a punching bag, like a dude like me or something like that, right? But that's how gloves look like. But since you're convinced that's not what they look like because he's a cheater and that's it. I'm convinced that he cheated, and I'm not open to information. I don't give a fuck what you're open to or not open to. So can you show them the screen real quick?
Sure.
Look at this. What does that glove look like?
Same, it has the
This
same,
individual,
because the horsehair is not as voluminous, so it's not going to look flatter. It's not going to look as fat. It's not as uniform. So it's going to be different. It's going to have a different appearance. It's like a pillow that is stuffed with foam as opposed to a pillow that is stuffed with feathers. It's the same thing.
look at this MX glove right here. What does it look like, Babe?
They have creases and wrinkles in them because again, the foam is more voluminous. It's going to push the leather out.
Now this one doesn't, right?
It's going to make the leather look tighter.
Look, this one doesn't have wrinkles, but what does it say in the bottom, Babe?
It's a training glove. And the reason why a training glove is different than a boxing glove is because you're going to be using it more for more rounds. So a training glove is designed more so to protect your hand because when you're training, you're hitting bags. You're not hitting people in the face.
Thank you. What does that glove look like? Does it have wrinkles on it, or is it just my lion eyes?
And then, no, it doesn't have wrinkles on it. The other one does.
Wrinkles? Okay. Right? Wrinkles. Like, you guys need to understand that there's like this, those are the training gloves that you're looking at right there. Those are training gloves. They don't wear training gloves at fights. Okay? Look, let's rate the Safety Tech versus Everlast MX.
And I hate to call people out, and I'm not going to call the person out by name, but there was a person on here doing a video talking about the whole situation. And what did he do? He grabbed a training glove that he just purchased that had a Velcro wrap to it. So why even bring up a training glove and try to compare it to a glove that you're going to use, that someone would use in a fight? So it's a ridiculous comparison. And also, too, here's the thing. If Fury can't punch and Fury didn't hurt me, according to Wilder, then why did you have a dent in your head? And why is there an issue with the gloves if his punches didn't hurt you anyways? So which one is it? He didn't hurt you and his punches had no power to them, or he hurt you and the gloves were wrong? I mean, that's there it is. There's the wrinkles.
By the way, do you see the curve at the top, Beeb?
Yes.
Now, this was not after he used the glove. It was before he used the glove, okay? Look at the wrinkles on this glove. Look at the wrinkles, ladies and gentlemen. Look at those wrinkles right there. Here is the first look at the custom Everlast MX fight gloves that Deontay Wilder will wear tomorrow night as he takes on Malik Scott. And wrinkles.
I repeat again, he stopped using those gloves because he broke his hand. So they may be puncher's gloves, but they're not for people who have brittle hands or people who have injured their hand in the past. Roy Jones used to use those gloves as well, and then he switched gloves to I believe what's he wear now? What did he wear? Switched to Rival gloves, or what did he switch to? I think he switched to Rival gloves because he broke.
And then he ended up going back to Everlast with the MX with the Power Lock.
Power Lock, yeah. Roy Jones stopped using horsehair gloves too. Again, people who are big punchers, really, it's not an advantage for them. It's really not an advantage for them to use the horsehair gloves because they over time they end up damaging their hand. He broke his hand using those gloves.
This only became a problem. The glove conspiracy only became an issue when Wilder lost.
When he lost. So he was using those gloves. And then he's on 78 Sports TV saying that those gloves are illegal. Well, how could they be illegal when you were using them?
Did he say that? I don't know if he said that about the MX gloves, but I know a lot of them have said that. Like Blue Blood was saying.
I was reading a quote where he said that he's not sure if they're legal anymore. Okay,
well, when you do that, what do? You plant seeds of doubt in people, and if people follow you in your word, right? It makes something like, oh my God, well, what's going on with the sport of boxing? Like they're wearing gloves that we don't even know that it should be legal or not. Like just think about how dumb that sounds.
So Wilder could use horsehair gloves, but Fury can't. I don't understand. If Wilder's trying to say that Fury's gloves are illegal, then why did he wear a similar type of glove in the past?
It's like this. Like think about. I want everyone to just like stop for a moment and think, right, about how ridiculous it sounds. Oh, he's wearing these illegal gloves. He's allowed. I don't know if they're legal or not, but these gloves are just these MX style. That's what they are. Those patent gloves are designed exactly like the MX glove. Exactly. Okay. Almost identical. Like same style of glove. So, like, he's still allowed to wear that type of glove. And by the way, in the first fight, the one where the gloves all floppy and all that shit, that was the MX glove. Okay. But just think about this for a second, guys. Let me walk you through this really quick. Wilder said, "Oh, he's allowed to wear those gloves." I took off my glasses and I looked at the commissioner when he told me he could. What do you just like I did a Fury? I went like this. Okay, first of all, it doesn't mean anything. I don't give a fuck if you took off your glasses and told them you can't bend your wrist back. Okay, I don't give a fuck if you did that because the MX glove was designed to be bent back so fighters could parry shots. Now, that's not, you don't have to take my word for it. Take Everlast's word for it. That's what they designed it to do. So I don't care if you took off your glasses in slow motion and looked at the commissioner and said, "Did he just say that he could bend it back?" Yeah, motherfucker, they said they could bend it back. But let me, I digressed. I just wanted to say that really quick. Tyson Fury is allowed to wear that type of glove. That's not fair. I don't know why he's allowed to wear those. We protested it, and they still let him get away with it and allowed him to wear that type of glove. I am now going to have to fight with the MX glove, which is the same type of glove, because I'm going to fight fire with fire. I'm going to go back to this type of glove that I wore for several fights, and I broke eye sockets and wrists, and I broke my hand, and oh, by the way, it's because of my hand wrapping. I think that's why. No, I broke my hand.
No, see,
we're gonna go back to wear the illegal gloves. So, are you saying, hey, babe? Didn't he just say that in this sport he's a nun? Isn't that what he said at the press conference?
Yes.
I'm a nun when it comes to this sport. I would never do anything like this cheater would. I wouldn't dare wear those type of gloves. But didn't he just confess? Was that a confession? So did he multiple fights? Should we overturn the Areola fight to a no contest?
Malik Scott,
do we need to overturn that? Because by the definition that he cheated with these gloves, and there's cheaters' gloves, then Wilder cheated in the past and admitted. What was Wilder insinuating, Beeb, when he said, "Oh, look, when I wore these, I was breaking eye sockets and wrist, and I was really fucking dudes up. I'm going to go back to those gloves." You know what I mean? I'm going to go back to Thor's hammer. You know, I wasn't wearing it before because I didn't want to kill people. You know, but I'm going to have to now. So why do you wear it for those fights?
Well, listen to this. I'm very happy with what's going on with the gloves. Since they want to have little to no padding, we're going to have the same. May the best men win. Okay, so you were using the same gloves that you claim there was little to no padding with. That's your claim. So it was okay when you were using them, and then you broke your hand, and that's why you stopped using them. But it's wrong for Fury to use them because he knocked you out with them. Come on.
Beep. A puncher's glove, right? It's obviously, if you never had hand issues, if you never broken your hand, if you have big, strong hands, like you know, like big boned hands, like a Maidana or somebody like that.
Or George Foreman or something
George
like that.
Foreman, you know what I mean? Like, you want to wear those type of gloves, right? Yeah. But then, in modern day boxing, our technology is so great, right, that we could take a guy like Malignaggi who had chronic hand issues. Mayweather, later in his career, had hand issues. And they developed orthopedic gloves, right? Gloves are designed to, like, the gloves are already designed to protect the hand, but it adds another, it protects the hand as a main priority over, you know, having more force on the punch, pretty much. You know what I mean? But because the priority is, well, I'd rather be able to finish a fight with my hands intact than maybe land a little harder, but I'm going to break my hands, okay? Now, in fairness, Wilder didn't have orthopedic gloves. He had power locks. But my point is, we're living in an age where we have gloves designed specifically for people with dudes with brittle hands. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say that. That's what they're designed to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you have everything in the middle, and then you have the puncher's glove. What's so hard for people to understand? Like, of course, Maidana's MX glove is not the puncher's glove. It's not going to look the same as Floyd Mayweather's, okay, Grant orthopedic glove. Of course, it's not. It's going to look different. Of course, it is. Because one has nothing but foam and it prioritizes more padding right here for the purpose of you not breaking your hand, not to make the sport safer and all the other dumb shit I keep hearing. All right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. These people, they don't understand that it's not necessarily advantage for the fighter to have these horsehair gloves, because once again, you don't think Wilder's going to be concerned about, when last time I used these gloves, I broke my hand using them. That's why I switched. So you don't think maybe he may be hesitant to throw the right hand with full power, because he's concerned that he may break that hand again. In Paulie Malignaggi, when he was in bare knuckle boxing, he even said that he was concerned about throwing his punches hard because he didn't want to break his hand.
He did break his hand.
But he did break his hand anyways.
Like, the best punch he landed, he broke his hand. He lost the fight at that moment.
He lost the fight because he couldn't throw the right hand anymore. So, I think there's a lot of indecisiveness with the Wild. And again, sending Tay Jones to look at the gloves. I mean, I don't have anything against Tay Jones. I'm not going to say he's a bad person, but he's not experienced to look at gloves.
He's not a bad person.
I'm not taking shots at Tay Jones personally, but again, he's not qualified to do that.
Yeah, but you don't think, look, I can't speak for the guy, obviously, but I honestly believe he was sent there to do that. That was the plan.
Yeah, but it ends up making him look bad by doing that. It makes the team look inexperienced, and it makes Tay Jones look like he doesn't know what he's doing.
This is my honest take. I think sometimes people try things to see if maybe, who knows? Like, oh, maybe he won't wear those gloves. Maybe he'll wear like power lock like us or something, right? There was no chance of that happening, but I mean, I think that was the plan.
But every glove on that table looked the same. So what are the chances of every single glove on that table being broken in? I mean, it just makes
that's how horsehair gloves look.
Just how they look.
And not only that, like, look, this whole like, well, we're gonna need Wilder to come here and look at it. Why didn't Wilder just, like, if you're not gonna have the final say, then why did you just have Wilder go?
And do you see the cognitive dissonance in Wilder and the denial? Oh, well, it wasn't the gloves that made me break my hand. It was the way that my hands were wrapped. Well, your hands are always, who wrapped your hands? Didn't the same person wrap your hands?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, bro, I think Mark Breland wrapped his hands.
Okay. So
he already has like this internal distrust for Breland. You know what I mean?
So, but you didn't switch the hand wrapper. You switched the glove. So if the hand wraps were the issue, then why wouldn't you have someone else wrap your hands?
Yeah, like Breland was still wrapping his hands up to the last fight.
So if your hands are being wrapped incorrectly, as you say, then why did you not change the hand wrapper and instead change the gloves? So once again, this is denial, cognitive dissonance, and it's contradiction, right? So if there's no problem with the MX gloves, then why did you stop using them? You stopped using them, coincidentally, after you broke your right hand. So obviously, you might have had concern that this glove is not as protective as I need for on my hands.
I want to say this. Do you think there's going to be issues in the training room? Like you think they're going to be like complaining about the wraps?
They're gonna try and do it. They're gonna try and do it on purpose, thinking that it's gonna try to start a controversy.
If I'm Pierre's team, I do the same thing.
They're looking for alibis already. That just goes to show you that they're not confident that they're going to win.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Hey, Gurmazian, like, I don't care what Steve Cunningham says. He has a gripe with Fury because he said Fury only beat him because he's a dirty fighter. Because Fury was mauling him and manhandling him like a child and then destroyed him in their fight.
Anyone can say anything that they want.
Oh, did he just dominate? Like, did he see how Fury just manhandled him like a child? Like I would be mad at Fury too if he did that. Well, wouldn't you be mad at Fury? He just like grabbed you and manhandled you all over the ring, and then
Yeah.
like just destroyed you, like utterly just annihilated you in the ring.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have a grudge against him too?
Yeah. If you have to defend Wilder right now, Gamazian, then you're insecure. Then you're not feeling good about Wilder's chances of winning. If you feel that a faceless name on YouTube has to defend him.
You know what's funny is like I have a bunch of fighters, right? Like I have, for example, Ishe Smith, who's done both bare knuckle and glove boxing. That says Glovegate's bullshit. Okay, I had Prograse, who shared a video of a conspiracy theory that Fury was cheating, and he said a lot of people don't know shit about boxing. He said, saying that this is dumb. Okay, I have the Charlo brothers, Charmal specifically saying that it's all bullshit. So do you want to go tick for tag? You want to go fighter for fighter? Is that what you want to do? Because most of them say it's bullshit. You're going to go with Cunningham, the guy that is salty and was going like rest in peace in Nassim, but him going around saying, "Oh, Fury's a dirty fighter. You see what he did to Cunningham? Yeah, you trained Bernard Hopkins, bruh. Bernard Hopkins, who brags about how you could hit a guy below the waist when the ref isn't looking and all that dumb shit. Okay, that if the ref don't see it, it's not really cheating because they didn't see it, right?
Nobody has to believe Fury about anything because none of you guys are approving the gloves. The commission is. So if the commission approves the gloves, then that's
what about JD's?
So
because I'll tell you why. I think I know why Tate Jones is the one looking at the gloves. Okay, I'll tell you why right now. Tate Jones was going around on the internet, okay, specifically on Punch Drunk's channel, right, saying that, oh, we were there when they wrapped the hands, but we were not there when they put on the gloves because we all know they did something fishy with the gloves. And then first pictures started to surface, which I showed Nate Jones, right, of him being there when they put on the gloves. Yeah. And then when that was being questioned, but pictures could be manipulated, then video came out, okay? Then the video came out and it came to rest, right? So I will never forget what Tate Jones said when he saw the picture. He said, well, I guess we got to talk to JD's, huh? Right, that's what he said. So JD's is no longer allowed to look at the wraps and the gloves because either A, they actually believe that he got away with it and he had something to do with it, or B, they just put it on the show.
Well, Wilder himself said that JD's doesn't have experience doing that type of stuff. So once again, neither does Tay Jones. Why are you sending inexperienced people in to look at gloves and hand wraps? Bring back Russ Amber into your camp and let him do it. He's the professional.
Because he doesn't want someone, babe. Think about it for a moment, babe. They're trying to sell people the story that Tyson is the champion of not just the people, but of the commission, right? Of the system. The system is against them, okay? They don't want somebody in their team saying, oh, no, these gloves are fine. They just don't. It would destroy their narrative. They need someone there saying, oh, no, there's something wrong with this. Oh, they're trying to do it again. They're trying to get away with it. Like, that's what they need.
Guys, we got 47 people live, only 18 likes. Come on, let's get the likes
Rich Mac just made a phenomenal point.
What do you say?
Why can't they send Malik Scott to look at that?
They should have.
Come on.
They should have. It's embarrassing that they didn't have Malik Scott come look at it.
Come on.
But once again, I mean, this is what happens when you have your friends in your camp instead of people, who are qualified to do the job.
Come on, bro. Come on, brother. Let me like the video. I didn't like it. I apologize.
It's all right. I mean, again, they're going to fight. They're going to fight tonight. So it is what it is. The commission approved it. Wilder said he's fine with everything. He's using the horsehair gloves too. So it is what it is.
You know what's funny is like, it would be very ironic if Wilder breaks his hand and then says, "Well, I only lost because I broke my hand."
Once again,
it would be the king of irony, bro.
It's like this. If you're playing a game of basketball, right, and you jump up for a rebound, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you came down and you tore your ACL, and you got reconstructive surgery on your ACL, then you came back, you started playing basketball again. You're going to be a little hesitant to be aggressively going up for rebounds because last time you did that, you blew your ACL out. So last time you used these gloves, you broke your hand using them and you stopped using them. I would assume, can't say this for sure, but I don't think it's a coincidence you stopped using these gloves after you broke your hand. So now you're back to using these gloves again because the other guy's using them. Now, when you throw your right hand, aren't you going to have like in the back of your mind say, damn, I got to be careful. What if I hit him on the top of his head with these horsehair gloves on? I'm going to break my hand, right? Because he hit him on the top of the head in the first fight. That's how he knocked him down. Because Fury was kind of bending down.
If those were MX gloves, he might have broken his hand.
He could have, very possible, because he hit Fury on top of the head. So once again, is there going to be a hesitancy now to throw that right hand? Because the last time he used these MX gloves that have little to no padding. Once again, if you have little to no padding on a glove, that's less padding and protection for your hand. So that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hurt the other guy. You can end up hurting your hand. So these gloves are not to cushion the blow of hitting a fighter. They're also to protect the fighter's hands.
I think let me put it this way, right? If you, and I want to ask everybody this, I'm curious who knows. When boxing first started, right, when it was just bare knuckle, right, and then they introduced gloves. Why do you think they introduced gloves, Joe? Why do you think they were brought in? Were they saying, "Oh my God, we're too dangerous. We need to make our sport safer," or why do you think they introduced gloves?
I honestly believe they put gloves on so they can protect the fighters' hands because fighters are getting their hands broken.
The philosophy was, okay, this wasn't the only reason, but gloves were worn in training, right? So they don't break their hands. Okay, now. But what they realized was, you know what? We want more fights to be settled by skill, right? And by, at the time, who could stop the other guy, right? Like by knockout. Like they didn't want fights to be like, oh, well, you only won because I broke my hand, or like they didn't want injuries to be the result of a win. Okay, they wanted a conclusive victory. Boxing's always had this obsession with the quote unquote fair fight, right? And I think Maestro's backstage, by the way. The obsession with the fair fight, right? And they introduced gloves so fights would go. And then after they introduced the glove, fights started going longer. Fighters started to fight more often, okay? Like a lot of things because the types of injuries were different, right? With a bare knuckle, there was cuts, which takes a lot longer to like recover from. Where with gloves, there was more blunt force. But I invite anyone, go look at Jack Johnson's fights. Go look at those gloves. If Fury's team saw those gloves, they would have a heart attack. Okay, like we got to fight Fury in those. That's what would happen. Okay, if they saw the gloves that Ali wore and that he fought with his whole career and Foreman, they would have a heart attack. Like you're gonna let Fury fight in those? Like that's what they fought in. This is not the norm. The exception. Like, I'm tired of people acting like Fury's gloves are the exception to the rule. They're not. Orthopedic gloves are newer and the exception to the rule. Gloves designed to add extra layers so to have extra protection for guys with brittle hands are the exception to the rules. Okay? So I asked you this question before we let Maestro cook. I want to ask you this question, and I'll ask it to the both of you. If you were forced, right? If I said you have no choice, there's a gun in your head, you have no choice. You have to punch that brick wall as hard as you fucking can with everything you got, with everything. Would you rather punch it with an orthopedic glove with all that extra padding, or would you rather punch that brick wall with an MX glove?
I'd rather punch it with the padding.
Okay, why is that?
What would you rather do? Because to protect my hand. Who would you rather do, Maestro? Maestro probably fucking headbutt the thing. He's a monster.
You guys can't see these hands over here, but they're pretty big. You know what? I like my hands. I'm gonna protect them with the foam, bro, with the padding.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, if you can punch, you can punch.
Yeah. What did Roy Jones say too, D-Style, when he switched to the more protective gloves?
Look, I remember Roy Jones. They were talking about puncher's gloves and the other gloves, right? And Roy Jones said, "No, actually, I love those Grand gloves. Like I loved them, like because they had that extra padding. When I would throw the straight right, like I called it the missile. Like you know what I mean? Because he felt like I could throw with everything I got, and my hand was protected. You know what I mean? But I could still land it with a lot of force. There's certain punches that you probably don't want to throw, right? Like Maidana, for example. Marcos Maidana wore MX gloves. Maidana wasn't known for throwing nice, crisp shots down the middle. Like, you know what I mean? With full leverage. Like Maidana was almost like, I wouldn't say he was a wild man, but his punches were kind of awkward.
He was a wild man.
Yeah, like he was like, he was like hitting dudes with a baton almost. Like, you know what I mean? So it was just different. You know what I mean?
To your point, D-Style. Right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was my point.
To your point, I mean, that's one of the reasons MMA guys don't throw good punches. They can't throw a lot of the punches the way you should throw a punch in boxing because they're wearing those little, what are they, like 4-ounce MMA gloves? I mean, you throw a lot of boxing punches with full force through the target in those, you're breaking your hand. It's that simple.
And not only that, too, if you're trying to block punches, it's much easier to block punches with the padded glove, too, because it hurts your hand when you're blocking punches as well.
100%.
So, a padded glove can help you with defense as well.
I want to give a salute to the Mayweather channel. I don't think I ever saluted them for this, but they dropped a video, like I think it was about a year ago, where they had fighters in their gym putting the hand like in the position that Fury was accused of having his hand in the glove and trying to throw punches, like where you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the hand placement.
I seen it.
I mean, fighter after fighter was just like, this is the dumbest shit ever. Like, I can't throw punches like this. Yeah. A, I'm gonna break my hand. B, there's no force behind these punches with the technique I'm throwing. So that was debunked, but obviously we keep going on with this over and over again, including
Steve Cunningham said, I mean, what reason would Steve Cunningham have to have anything against, Fury? I mean, it's not like Fury beat him up or anything.
Exactly. And then, even up to today, people are still dropping Glovegate videos on the day of a fight. I thought we weren't supposed to be talking about that stuff anymore. Well, today video drops, more Glovegate nonsense. And I spoke to Joe about this morning. D, I want your opinion about this whole nonsense of Jay Jones and the glove selection meeting. To me, it was ignorance off the charts, stupidity on 100. And honestly, it doesn't speak very well to me, A, of the dynamics in that camp, the kind of social dynamics, or B, confidence in the camp of a heavyweight champion or a guy trying to reclaim his heavyweight championship, that they're, this isn't like a psychological game. You're playing it with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. What point are you trying to prove exactly? Oh, there's wrinkles in the glove. Well, it's soft leather. If anyone's out here ever bought a memory foam mattress or a memory foam pillow or anything that's vacuum sealed and airtight, you know that when it's brand new, it takes a little bit to take to its form, especially before it's been manipulated and stuff. It's just total.
Come on, man. Those gloves they look manipulated. Fury.
But Maestro,
they're manipulated. They're
Maestro,
broken, man.
here's another ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
They had those Pathfind gloves on the table. It wasn't just one or two pairs. They had what about six
looked like 4 to 6
Same-
pairs to me.
Same design as the MX
and they
glove,
all
I just
looked
remind you.
the same. So were all 6 to 8 gloves broken in at the same time?
Well, I mean, they had to explain it. Well, there was 2 guys in that video.
Cut them open for him, for God's sakes.
It's like good cop, bad cop. You had one guy, and I'm getting, I don't want to sound racial here, but I'm pretty sure it's a white guy, one of the inspectors. Another dude sounded like he was a Chicano from the West Coast. The white guy was trying to be really nice with Tay Jones. Oh, that's good reflexes when he almost dropped the thing on the table. And, well, this is how we do it, and blah, blah, blah. The other guy was having none of it. He was like, nah, man, I don't know what you think. Your gloves are actually have less padding than these gloves. We cut these gloves open. What were you saying when you said, oh, really? Like, what are you hinting at here? Like, as a Nevada State athletic inspector, he was actually sounding to me like he was pretty
offended.
Offended by the behavior of Tay Jones, up to the point where he was like, listen, the manufacturer sends us these gloves. I inspected the glove. I put my hand in the glove. We cut these gloves open. It's inspected, and he showed him the little certificate with the date on it and stuff. But the problem is when you're dealing with a subculture of a subculture of a subculture, you got sports fans, boxing fans, YouTube fans, sycophants underneath in a certain subsection of our community. We're at a point now, guys, where facts are irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Facts over feelings, ladies and gentlemen. Look, Ernie Gabion, this dude on Twitter, said, interesting take and POV.
Point of view. Yeah.
If point of view, I got you. Well, okay, right. If Wilder believed the glove conspiracy some of you spewed, then why would he not protest the same glove for a war in the rematch? He saw them, wanted horsehair gloves too, and thus the switch to our MX. No protests, no walking out of the fight, nothing. That's what he said from his point of view.
Yeah.
Right. I was going to add that at the end, but Beeb, I mean, what does this dude on Twitter know?
Works for Everlast. He makes those. He makes those gloves. He makes the power lock. He makes the gloves. He doesn't make them, but he's
also the one that's literally made the custom ones for him before, and he's the dude that's going to hand them to him.
Most importantly, he does the quality control over all of those gloves.
Correct.
All of the gloves.
He was at the table for the first fight of the glove selection.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, the problem, too, for me is that it's I question at this point, guys. I've been going back and forth in my mind. Is are these people stupid, or are they just pretending to be stupid? Because on the one hand, Deontay Wilder is up there saying on Thursday at the press conference, he's saying, well, Fury never hurt me once. He doesn't hit hard at all. The guy can't punch. Well, what the hell have we talking about Glovegate for? I thought this whole thing was because you were hurt because there was padding removed or egg weights or this or that. Over a year later, you're up there when you finally decide to take the headphones off and answer questions. All of a sudden, you were never hurt by these punches. All of a sudden, Fury can't hit at all. Then,
I'll tell you.
Go ahead, Deez.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of this reminds me of the. Do you remember how Trump surrogates, and I'm not making it about politics. I just want to make this about like facts and how they act in the courtroom versus in public. Now, there was no courtroom here. The courtroom would be like glove selection meeting, but we just had someone from Everlast. He's going to wear Everlast gloves. It's the guy that gave him the Everlast gloves, saying Deontay made really no real complaints. He just said, okay, well, I'll wear horsehair gloves too, right? And he accepted it, and that's it. But then he goes to his base and he says something different. I don't know if you heard that part of Milcar where he said, they told me I couldn't. It could have been the glove back, but I looked at him and I had to take off my glasses the way I took them off when I looked at Fury. Because
Yeah, it's
Did you
insane.
just tell me that? Like, I don't know what that even means. That you took off your glasses, to what?
Look him straight in the eye, I guess. I mean,
But this just reminds me of like when Trump's lawyers will be in the courtroom, right?
Yeah.
And the judge will be like, okay, what's your evidence? We don't have any. Okay, so why are you here? Well, we don't have any evidence. Okay. But then they will go to the press, right? And they'll be like, oh, well, we were trying to present our evidence, but the system is against us. Like, well, what do you mean? That was a Republican appointed judge. Like,
yeah.
No, but really, like, that's what's happening here.
I mean, I used to work.
Honestly, one quick point in the car. I don't think Tate Jones is. I think that was the point. He knew he was going to do that from jump because they know what horsehair gloves look like. They know what they look like. I'm not convinced that they don't know what they look like. They know what they look like. They knew what they were going to look like, and they knew what they were going to complain about. Okay. And they knew they were going to release a video and narratives out there. Oh, they're trying to do it again. And obviously it might have been more effective. Unfortunately, Wilder did two things. Out of his own mouth, admitted that he has actually already worn MX gloves. Because regarding the empirical evidence we had, like video evidence of the fights and the pictures, they wouldn't take my word for it, right? But now Wilder admitted to it, and he said, "I'm now going to go back to it." And he also, just the mere fact that he's going to fight with the same type of glove. That's all I got.
No, but these are great points, Disa. And the other thing too is, it's like Wilder's a multimillionaire. He's making multi-millions in this fight alone. You'd think that if the glove was such a big deal, and really we needed to make sure that nothing was going wrong with the gloves, you'd send in an expert, right, Joe? You'd send in a former glove maker, a glove manufacturer, someone who handles quality control, Ernesto Gabion type individual, or someone who works for, I don't know, another company, whether it's Lonsdale in England or Paffin or whoever, right? Reyes, Winning, take your pick. The best guy, the best expert they could come up with was Tay Jones. That's the guy. That's the guy that's going to prevent the corrupt cheating that the Nevada State Athletic Commission was involved in. That's the guy who's going to ensure that everything doesn't happen again. Okay.
Milcar, like, look, a former president of the United States had such a ridiculous case that no lawyers wanted to take the case, which is crazy, right? Like, just think about that. And they needed the My Pillow guy to go around and tell people that Trump's going to be president any day now. And there's people that are believing it. But my point is, if that's the truth, then it doesn't shock me that Wilder couldn't find. It's not like, here's the thing, like you're making logical sense. But they don't want. This is what they don't want. They don't want to hire Russ Abner, okay? Yeah, and then Russ is like, okay, yeah, these gloves are fine, because that's gonna make them look stupid. It's gonna be okay. Because what do they keep hearing? Oh, well, you guys approved the gloves. JD's was there. Like, no, but they got away with it. JD's didn't look at them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they need to say, yeah, like, they needed to find someone who doesn't care about their reputation that much, okay? Right? To say that. I'm sorry. That's
it just speaks to the whole thing of surrounding yourself with yes men that are going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you're supposed to hear. And that's what he's done. That's what he's done. It's like this when someone has a business and they just hire their friends and their family, right? You can't be objective when you're dealing with your friends or your family, right? You're giving guys jobs who aren't qualified, but just because they're your friends and your family, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. Like he's got
conflict of interest. A lot of jobs don't even allow. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's got these people around him that are just there to feed him information that he wants to hear. Tay Jones isn't going to ever tell him anything. Tay Jones can never go in there and say, "Hey, champ, the gloves are fine," because he's not there to do that.
You heard him. Yeah. There was like a sigh. There was like a sigh of frustration at the end, where Tay Jones was being explained to him, why everything he was saying was just total bullshit.
We need an alibi. We need an
Well,
alibi.
I'm going to have to go to Deontay. In other words, Deontay's not going to be happy about this, because it was also shut down that Deontay was going to be able to show up and essentially tell the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And they're like, well, he can come here and do whatever he can say, whatever he wants. He could look at the gloves, but nobody's changing these gloves, dog. Like, that's not up to Deontay. Like,
what's funny is that they cut him open. Did you notice how Negway didn't fall out?
Yeah.
When they cut him open?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of strange, right?
Very bizarre.
So he set up, and we were talking about this, Joe, earlier. He set up this kind of social order, in his camp where it's the king's court. He's clearly on top. And below him are the court gestures, the cleaners, the servants. In other words, he's not the common man anymore. That's been made clear. I mean, he's up here. I'm black. So, apparently, according to him, in his mind, he's my king, and apparently in his world, in his universe, especially amongst his fans on YouTube, he's operating his black kingdom kind of like the king of Thailand, where if you're out in Thailand, you can't even say that you think the king is bad looking. You're at risk of getting locked up. You know what I mean?
Like bow down to your king mentality, God complex.
It was so obvious to anyone that's paying attention that like Tay Jones is just following some dumbass orders.
That's what it is.
They're like an errand boy,
Look, it's funny that I mentioned the pillow guy because like they literally sent him out there to try to convince them to let him wear pillows, right?
No matter what those gloves looked like in that room, Tay Jones was not going to say they were okay. He just wasn't, and that's just what I believe.
Dale Chi-Town had a great joke and it went over everybody's head, but it's okay.
Well, Mr. Wild is going to be real mad, boss.
Yeah.
When I take him back this bad news.
Boss. No, well, I want to ask you guys, like, what do you think the level of paranoia is? Because, like, do you think, like, if it's kind of like this, do you think Wilder knows, but he's kind of allowing everyone around him to believe that he's convinced that there was cheating going on? Right, so he's kind of playing this thing. Like he knew all along, well, I'm gonna wear MX, but fuck it, let's just do this. Hey, Tay Jones, go show them. You make sure that they don't allow that. And it's like, because like Tay Jones, he's loyal. I'll give him that. Like the dude's loyal. Like he went out there and like, you know what I mean? Because these hoes ain't loyal out here, but Tay Jones is. Tay Jones went out there, he was loyal. Like, you know what I mean? Like he did what he was told to do.
D-Stock, you do me. I'm sorry, Maestro. I apologize. D-Stock, can you do me a favor? Can you do Centurion Son a favor? If you have those pictures available, can you show him the MX gloves that Deontay Wilder used for his fight with Malik Scott, and just let him know that that's how the horsehair gloves look because of the padding, because the horsehair is different than the foam. The foam is more voluminous, and it's going to fill the leather out differently, and it's going to make the leather have a different outer appearance. Can you just show him that so he understands what a horsehair glove looks like?
Please? Of course, I'll pull that up. But you guys,
when you get a chance, no rush, but just let him because people need to know what these gloves look like.
Like maybe a Milcar hasn't seen them, and maybe it'll be news to Milcar. I don't know.
No, I think Milcar.
No, it's funny. I see video after video of guys who like take their car out and go to Walmart or Target or whatever, and pick up your Everlast gloves from the sporting goods section, and do videos about gloves.
That's what we say.
See, guys, these gloves are. They say
buy off the shelf, guys.
They say Bomber on them, right? These are the gloves that Wilder used. Look closely at. See how they have the wrinkles and they have the leather looks different. It's
look at the curvature. You see the curvature.
See how there's a curve at the top. It's because the padding, the horsehair is not as voluminous as the look at
those wrinkles, bro.
This is what those gloves look like.
These were after he used them, right? Isn't it after he used them?
They were before. Look.
Oh no!
Here is the first look at the custom Everlast MX glove that Deontay Wilder will wear tomorrow when he takes on Malik Scott. Deontay Wilder stopped using these gloves after 2016 in the Chris Arreola fight when he broke his right hand, his wrist, and tore his right bicep tendon. Why? Because they did not provide him with the protection he needed. When you punch harder, the less padding you have on your glove, and the harder you punch, the more damage you do to the bones in your hands. And once you break your hand one time, what happens, guys? You have the probability of breaking it once again. Not many people I know that box that have broken their hand one time only broke it one time. Okay? So again.
Very true. And just look at guys.
Thank you so much, D-Star, for that. Go ahead, Maestro. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, here's the thing that I find quite funny, and a couple people in the chat are doing it. I'm used to it. It's, you know, a repeated, it's almost a trope at this point. I say something about Wilder and these allegations, and the retort is, "Whoa, you're backing a cheater, a liar. Why are you believing what he says?" What does me questioning the glove stuff have to do with the fact that a few years ago Tyson Fury got popped for having a banned substance in his system? I don't.
Well, you know what that would be like?
Somebody's
like
got to explain that
none of them talked about that when Wilder, okay, admittedly, his own words, was offered more money to fight AJ, but instead decided to give Fury the opportunity. None of this was an issue, but all that existed then, though. Everything he said when he got busted and all that, it all existed, all of it. But back then, before he beat his ass, it was his brother. Like H Money likes to say, he gave him a kiss in the cheek. Okay, all right, and they embraced each other after the first fight. Oh, you're my brother. Let's run it back, right? And then they ran it back. But what happened? He just didn't like the fact that he got his ass beat. That's what it is, guys. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Now you want to go back and be like, oh, but he cheated before, so he's a cheater, right? Look, he cheated with those gloves. Well, by your not my definition, not Maestro's definition, not Beeb's definition, by your definition, since fighting with those gloves makes you a cheater, how many times did Wilder cheat? Should we call the Arreola fight a no contest because he was wearing these illegal gloves? Right? We don't know if they're legal or not. Like, really, we don't know if they're legal. That's not a thing. Either they're legal or they're not.
So okay? Wilder was 238, right? Looked bigger than he's ever looked. Can we automatically just say he's using steroids now because he was bigger than he was in the last?
He's never been that big, right?
Never been that big before. It doesn't look right.
Facts.
I mean, the list.
He looks bigger than he ever did, right? I'm gonna believe my lying eyes. The eyes don't lie. If I see heavier is bigger. If bigger is bigger, then he's cheating. He's doing pads, right?
Is this really a serious question? How did Wilder get his ear scratched? Can you really scratch someone's ear when you have a glove on?
He didn't stretch. He didn't stretch his ears or scratch. I'm sorry, scratched. Who said it was a scratch?
It wasn't. He's saying it was a scratch because he's kind of trying to diminish the injury and saying that.
Yeah. Since when do you get stitches for a scratch?
It wasn't a scratch. It wasn't a scratch.
How can you really have a logical conversation with somebody?
So if a girl scratches, what has happened before?
That says
if a girl scratches my face, I'm gonna go get stitches.
Yeah. I don't know who was that. Put that comment up again, please, because I'm going to direct this question directly at the guy who said it. All right, so Gears Mazian. I've seen multiple fights where guys have gotten cuts at the top of the head, at the side of the head, in all kind of weird spots. You're talking about two heavy-handed guys hitting each other with their fists, and both of them are moving their heads in all kind of weird directions to get out of the way of punches. Gashes and cuts happen. And by the way, he got multiple stitches for that cut. It wasn't a scratch. It was a cut. He was split open. That's what happens in boxing.
They really think, because they say it was nails, right? That's the theory.
Well, I mean, if you would have scratched someone, you'd have to use your nails to do it. So was his nails through the glove?
He gave him a willy. You know what I mean? They like,
I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's. I want someone to educate me.
well, when I this.
That's what Tay Jones was insinuating at the beginning of the video I saw, that the horsehair was being manipulated in the gloves that he was looking at, and that he had seen it happen before. And I believe that the guy who I said again was kind of the bad cop was asking him like what the hell he was talking about, and obviously he didn't give a very good example. So look,
I'm glad you brought that up.
If Fernando Vargas was fighting someone, right, run it back as many years as you want, and you know, I was bringing up the fact that his opponent was telling all kind of weird stories and blaming his trainer and everything in that. Am I not allowed to do that because Fernando Vargas tested positive for a PED? What about Roy Jones?
Let me ask you this.
Evander Holyfield? What about I mean, the list of guys that have tested positive for PEDs in boxing is long, guys. I'm not excusing it for Tyson Fury, but people are out here acting like he's the only boxer ever that's tested positive.
Well, it's a false equivalency. Too,
I guess Mosley cheated against Eloy. That's it.
It's a false equivalency.
He's a cheater. We got to erase his whole career.
Because we've seen guys like, if you look at the Louis Resto situation, that the guy Billy, whatever his name was, the guy that he busted his face open, right? Billy Collins, excuse me, that was his name. Mm-hmm. So his face was busted up. He had a detached retina. His face was so damaged that he could never box again. Have we ever seen anyone on PEDs do that to someone? Has anyone ever died in the ring because his opponent had PEDs in his system? Now, again, we're not absolving PED use, right, but again, we're also not going to over exaggerate PED use either. We're not going to sit there and say because someone takes phentermine that automatically they turn into the Incredible Hulk.
By the way, I'm glad you brought up Resto.
And they Collins. Can go. So Louis Resto and Billy Collins, right? So Billy Collins' face was destroyed. He could never fight again. Okay. So you're gonna take that and compare it to someone testing positive for phentermine, right? Or someone testing positive for nandrolone. So the same amount of damage that Louis Resto did, putting plaster in his gloves, can be administered for someone on phentermine. That's like saying because someone cheated on their math test that they're going to cheat on their wife. Oh, well, you probably cheated on me, honey. I heard you cheated on your math test 20 years ago. It's a false equivalency. When I was a kid, I went into the store and stole a fucking Snickers bar when I was 12 years old. Does that mean I'm going to go to a bank with a fucking AK-47 and rob a bank? Again, it's a false equivalency. Okay, there's levels to crimes. And again, we're not absolving and making light of PED use. But you're not going to tell me that someone testing positive for nandrolone is equivalent to someone putting an egg weight in their glove and basically committing assault and battery. You're not going to tell me. You're not going to tell me someone that slaps a woman on the ass is the same as someone raping her. There's levels. There's a difference to things. Go ahead, D-Star.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, the Wilder fans that act like they were really concerned for Klitschko when they were never Klitschko fans. Okay, whatever. Okay, but that's not here nor there. What I will say is this. I'm glad you brought up Resto Collins, okay?
Sure.
From my understanding, now I haven't looked at the story in a while, so I'm going off just my memory. They Panama Lewis went to the back, unstitched it, removed horsehair, and then he added chalk right inside. And it was the same amount of weight, more or less, the chalk to the horsehair, right? And that's what he used when he was fighting, okay? And he sewed it back on. If the same protocols were done back then as they are today, those gloves would have been inspected, okay? Right? And they would have opened them up, chalk would have came out. Like if that would have happened, like let's say like they opened the gloves in front of Tate Jones and fucking like particles that we're like, whoa, what's that white substance, powdery substance coming out? Why is there like a fucking like a horseshoe in there? Why is my neighbor's cat in there? Like why are things coming out of this glove, right? That shouldn't be there. But notice how there was nothing abnormal at all about the gloves when they opened them. They ripped open a glove for him and showed it to him. And now, furthermore, back to Russell Collins, right? How even if you go back to Tyson used to say he used to rub the gloves to the point where until he could feel his knuckles, right? Right. Some boxers would like kind of slowly kind of just touch the. They would hit it with everything they got, but they would punch like the brick walls and stuff, right? To break them in. And one of the problems that they had in the 80s was that the gloves didn't have the stitching required to not allow the horsehair to be completely removed from an area, right? Well, they literally showed Tay Jones where the stitching goes. They're like, okay, this stitching right here is to prevent what you are saying the gloves are doing. You're saying that the horsehair is being completely removed from the knuckle area and redistributed somewhere else. No, there's stitching in place to make sure that horsehair doesn't leave certain pockets, right? In fact, that's why the hybrid gloves are a thing, okay? So anyone still referring to Russell Collins, okay? My God, you're still talking about how the problems with chariots, okay, when we're already using vehicles, all right? You're talking about the problem with the clutch when everyone's driving automatic now, right? You're talking about the Wright brothers when we have fighter jets now. Like you're behind. You're still stuck with this story, which was a tragic story. It shouldn't have happened. But things were put in place to prevent that from happening again. There's never been anything to the extent of Russell Collins since then. I'm not saying there hasn't been any cheating, but nothing to that extent.
Not only that, Louis Resto went to jail. So did Panama Lewis.
Yes.
And if Tyson Fury is guilty of the alleged things that Deontay Wilder said he did, then he would be in jail too. So why is Tyson Fury not in jail? Why were charges not brought up against Tyson Fury? I will tell, and I'm going to let you answer the question. I will tell you this. If anyone ever did those things to me, I would do everything in my power to make sure that they were punished to the fullest extent of the law. That was not done. Go ahead, Maestro.
Well, what's known doesn't need to be answered. I mean, these are the kind of statements that are given when these questions are asked. And I'm talking about Deontay Wilder right now. Deontay, why haven't you filed a lawsuit? Or Deontay, can you explain why you think that these gloves were loaded? What's understood doesn't need to be explained. I mean, he says these are the responses that are given. Like, that, I'm sorry, that's not an answer. You know what I mean? The real answer is you don't have any evidence. What you have is a bunch of yes men that at your lowest point in life, probably, apart from obviously maybe, or at least boxing life, we're surrounding you with tablets and cell phones, showing you all kind of videos that convinced you that you were cheated. And you have not been able to get out of that. That's literally what I think happened, Joe.
If Wilder believes what happened, like, does he comfortably drink water? Is he gonna take a sip of water in the locker room, or how are they gonna do that?
It's a good question.
How does he not know?
Well,
how does he know, for example, that it wasn't drugged, right? How does he know?
Well, he's got the great scientist, I guess. I mean, in Tay Jones, maybe they'll be taking water samples, between rounds or before the fight. They'll take out their water ahead of time and they'll sample it. And I mean, where's the crack team? He told everybody that he had people who were going to be on this, people who are going to ensure.
Where's the forensic scientists? Where's all the forensic scientists?
Right. I thought we would be looking at an episode of CSI Las Vegas. That's not what I'm seeing so far. At least if the glove inspection meeting was any example of what's to be expected about everything else. I mean, it's weak sauce.
If I was as concerned about gloves and such as Wilder and his team are, I would have brought in someone like Russ Amber for this camp. And I'm sure Russ, who doesn't have anything on the calendar, right? I'm sure he would have been able to do it.
Wilder knows the gloves are legal, brother. He's fought with him before, and he's going to fight
Right.
with him in this fight.
I agree.
We know why he didn't bring Russ Abner there.
Shannon Courtney, I believe, is going to be fighting soon. If anyone's interested,
She lost her belt, yeah.
on the DAZN card.
Couldn't make weight.
Yeah, couldn't make weight. So let me ask you guys this: are you guys expecting? Actually, you know what? Actually, I don't want to get you copyright stricken. I was about to do the Undertaker intro from the WWE music, Joe. But it's your channel, so I'm not going to do that. But are you guys accepting a Tombstone Undertaker entrance tonight?
Da, na, na, na.
I think that would be pretty. He came out in the hat yesterday. I think that would be pretty epic.
Yeah, they actually FaceTime, I think, didn't they, or something?
Yeah.
They communicated, yeah.
But I will say, okay, let me just say this. Now that they're both wearing, if it makes the Wilder fans feel better to think, oh, now it's fire with fire. You know what I mean? Like, my king wasn't allowed to fight with a sword the last time. Now they're going to hand him a sword, right? Okay, if that's how you feel, right? Can I just get a commitment that it's not going to be any crying this time?
No, they're going to blame the referee.
Well, they're coming up with all the. It's like you. Come on, how confident are you? Like let me tell you something, man. I really hope that this fight just goes on because I hope there's no like panic attack in the locker room because the level of paranoia is only going to go up. I'm telling you, the paranoia is going to rise. I'm already seeing early signs of it. So that's why I asked earlier, do you think Wilder kind of knows it's all bullshit? He's kind of playing the role. Or does he really believe the things he's saying? Because they seem too obvious to me. Like he explained how a puncher's glove works, right? And then he says the MX glove is a puncher's glove, right? Like he understands these things. Like I'm just wondering, has he worked himself into a shoot? In other words,
it's weird. One of the weird things about me growing up is that I was like one of the probably only person in my friend group that like would watch Seinfeld. And there's a character on that show. His name's George Costanza, and he's based on the creator of the show, whose name is Larry David, who's behind the Curb Your Enthusiasm show on HBO. And he said something in that show that I'll always remember. He said, "A lie isn't a lie if you believe it." So, he's wound himself up to the point where, yeah, maybe he does believe this. Maybe he does now believe in all of this stuff, and he's using it as motivation to train hard for this fight and get the knockout. We'll see. Oh, that reminds me, I got to place my bets. Joe, what's the betting advice today, bro?
I'm taking Fury by stoppage.
I'm about to do that myself.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not trying to be an idiot, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder breaks his hand and he gets pulled out of the fight.
You know what would be like? I'm just telling you right now, this would blow up hard because we already know what a doctor does if you break your hand, right? Christy Martin, 45 seconds to go. Hey, your hand's broken. We got to stop it, which I thought was bullshit, but nonetheless.
I have a feeling he's going to have some type of injury tonight, and
if he breaks his hand, like they may stop it. I'm just telling you that right now. And then the conspiracy, they were protecting him, and like, you know what I mean? So obviously the commission needs to do the right thing. If a guy has a broken hand, an injury where they can't continue, no. But I could see some people saying, I can, like you know what? Fuck it, let him fight that way because we don't want to hear it anymore. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering he's, and one thing he hasn't had to answer for either, and this was interesting to me too, is that it's not only the Nevada State Athletic Commission that's involved in overseeing these things, it's also the WBC, right? The WBC obviously being headed by the Suleiman family, out of Mexico, who, by the way, took Wilder to meet the Pope. And I remember Wilder talking about his love for the WBC and his love for Suleiman and everything else. Well, didn't that just go out the window? It's like everybody's been thrown out with the bathwater, and that has not been explained either. Like, you're fighting for a title of an organization that oversaw or was part of overseeing the process that you now claim was illegitimate, corrupt, and felonious. Let me place my bet.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet Fury with the stoppage.
So by the way, so Wilder's punches didn't. I'm sorry, Fury's punches didn't hurt you at all. Like you didn't feel them, but you have to fight with the same type of gloves that he's wearing.
Yeah, that
like,
was.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Like I'm trying to like kind of make sense of this, right?
It's gonna be hard to.
Like this the contradictions are amazing. Like, and anyone who can't see the contradictions, I don't know what to tell you at this point. I just don't. This has nothing to do, by the way. In this video right here, you haven't heard me give my prediction, what type of chance I give Wilder, I haven't said any of that. I'm only talking about the facts of that second fight and the facts of what happened in the Tay Jones situation and what Wilder said out of his own mouth, right? Deontay Wilder, right, came out and said, I'm going to go back to the MX gloves. Like he's talking about the shit. Like if Thor was fighting without his hammer, he's like, well, you know what? I'm going to have to bring my hammer for this one. You know what I mean? Because why? Like what you were like such a nice guy that you don't want to break people's faces. So you stopped wearing the MX glove. Is that why? Like, what is he trying to tell us? Like, oh, I need to pull the MX out of the shell for this one because I got to fight fire with fire.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake for him to use those gloves. It's going to hinder his hand. He's going to injure his hand.
I also think it's a mistake, guys, that he's put on this weight, and that also that he's put it on through compound weightlifting, specifically the bench press. He didn't talk at all about legs, which I found interesting. I have yet to hear him mention his, squat or his leg press. If you're going to do a heavyweight exercise, if you're going to go that way, I would have probably done something like that. But here's the thing. Guys, have a look at BoxRec. Have a look at his KOs. Have a look at his most spectacular KOs. Look at the Brazil fight. Look at the Spielka fight. Guys, he was nowhere near as heavy as this. What I don't think a lot of people understand is a lot of his power comes through the fact that he can throw his punches pretty quickly, at least that right hand. Now, he does show it, but when he launches it, a lot of that power comes from his speed and his just raw athletic ability. I don't know whether or not that's going to be helpful for him. And I'll tell you what, carrying around that extra weight is really going to play a role. Now, I hurt somebody's feelings saying that he has chicken legs. So I'll just say he has thin legs, because I've been accused of bullying people. My ego's got to cool it a little bit in that regard. I got to be a nice guy. We're turning Ringside Reporter into safe space, everyone.
Getting a lot of phone calls. Getting a lot of phone calls about you from the bully.
They call the HCP HR, brother. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know what I mean? I'm just saying. Okay.
So I got to work on my microaggressions. I've got to work on the things I say and the way I say them. I don't want to misgender anybody or enter into a bad territory. So let's just keep it simple as this. I wasn't calling Wilder a chicken. Wilder's a human being. He has human legs. Okay. I just think his legs are very thin. Now, if he adds weight to his upper body and is carrying that around, his legs are going to be affected by that. And the other thing is, Fury's a big man. The comment that he made was quite interesting to me. Was he literally believes that because he's now able to one rep 350 pounds, that somehow that means that he's now just going to be able to push off a 270 pound man. I guess in his mind, he still has 80 pounds of strength left over. Deontay, it doesn't work like that.
Because you still have the force of weight that Fury is pushing.
He said, I'm going to lay down on my back and have Fury lay on top of me, and I'm going to push him off me. That's what he literally said.
He literally said that.
Not to mention like doing it over, and that's his bench press max, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So like that's your max. So like, bro, it's a 12-round fight. Okay, even if it was true that you're just pushing him off, right? Sorry, like you're just pushing him off, pushing like at some you're gonna get tired. Okay, and now I know this is a completely different sport. I know it is, but there's something that made a lot of sense to me. So George St. Pierre, when he fought BJ Penn in the rematch, right? He actually said this. He said, "You know what I was noticing? Like BJ was winning a lot of fights because guys were like allowing him to box. You know what I mean? And then when they would kind of grapple with him, they would take it to the ground where he feels comfortable. So he said, you know what? My strategy was, since he trains like a boxer, right? That I was gonna just grapple with him because I was a bigger, stronger man than him. So all I did, and it sounds simple, but it's kind of genius. He just grabbed him, pushed him against the cage, and forced BJ Penn to grapple with him, right? And after a round or two, he was exhausted. His arms were exhausted, and the threat of the punches were no longer there, right? So that's the strategy. Like if your strategy is, well, okay, bring it on. I could grapple with you now. That's not a good strategy. I hope that's not the strategy.
It is a strategy.
It is, but it's not going to work. What he should have done is, rather than hire a guy to scream and shout and stroke him for hitting 350 on a 1-rep max, he should have brought in like a Greco-Roman wrestler or a judo guy, someone who's very good at upper body manipulation, and just worked over and over and over again on getting out of position. You know, because what judo guys do is they use the opponent's momentum against them. Right. Same in Greco-Roman wrestling. I'm not saying master that, but learn a few tricks of the trade. I mean, time should have been spent doing things that could actually work for him in a fight.
Call him maestro.
Yeah.
Like Fury went and he did it with the pro wrestlers in WWE. He mastered it. And by the way, I saw some channels literally saying that Fury learned how to grapple in the WWE training facility, which I don't know why they think that. But I want to just say this, Gert Mazion, by analyzing you for a while, I've been reading your comments. You're just trolling. You're trying to act like an ignorant Wilder fan. I don't really believe you're a Wilder fan, brother. I think you're trolling. Just put it out there, just for everybody to know. I'm 99% sure you're a troll.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I saw some of his comments earlier, and I had addressed.
He's snickering. He's kind of like, how can I make like he's trying to make Wilder? You don't need to try to make Wilder fans, not all of them, but the hardcore conspiracy theorist ones. You don't have to try to make them look bad, brother. They already do that. They do a phenomenal job doing that themselves.
100%. Look, there's a guy that I've liked for a while, mostly because I met him when I was living in the UK. I met him in a supermarket. I was already a fan of his. It was ahead of his big win in Paris against Jean-Marc Mortmec for the cruiserweight title. I'm talking about David Hay. You know, we also shared affinity for the Cohen Road braids. But guys, Joe, hopefully you can explain to me. This guy's 0-2 picking against Fury. What's up with him constantly picking against Fury and again, for a third time, picking Wilder to win in this fight? I just don't understand it on David Hayes' point.
What's time to charm, I guess.
Well, he's also trying to say that Wilder injured his right arm in the second fight, but it was actually his left arm. So he's putting out wrong information. Then he's saying Andy Lee left the camp because Tyson wasn't training. I don't know how true that is either. That sounds kind of weird, but I don't know. Maybe he says he has unfinished business with Fury. Maybe he's resentful that he never fought Fury and Fury became what he became and probably missed out on a big payday, I guess. I don't know. It seems kind of bizarre that some of the things he say, because they're so unbelievable.
Yeah, and he's an intelligent guy. Like, he's got a boxing brain. Like, I just don't get it. And when you look at his reaction to Fury's win over Wilder in Las Vegas, it seemed to me at that point like he learned his lesson and he wasn't going to do this again. I mean, he was eating crow. He was saying how wrong he was, and now he's back at it. So I don't know if there's something personal there or whatever, but You know, I told you over the phone earlier, there's been one time where I let my my feelings about a fighter disrupt my pick and how I saw the fight. I got to think it's the same with him. The difference between me and him, you know, I'm a teacher doing this on YouTube. I'm not being paid by a company and who's flying me to a foreign country and putting me up in a 5-star hotel to be a boxing expert. And I'm not saying I don't do the best I can in terms of being honest. I do, but I think he's got an even bigger responsibility to
Yeah.
do that as a professional, and especially as a former fighter and world champion. Like, God, my man, just keep it real.
Yeah, it seems like he's got an axe to grind, but I don't know. He has a right to say what he wants to say. He has a right to his opinion, but it just doesn't seem
100%.
just doesn't seem genuine, to be honest with you. Seems like it's based off of emotion. The same thing with Tony Bellew. When Tony Bellew is commentating Anthony Joshua fights, there's a conflict of interest there because he's a very good friend of Anthony Joshua. And after Anthony Joshua lost, he's going in the locker room trying to console him and stuff. Yeah, but you were hired to be a an unbiased commentator of the fight, and it's a conflict of interest. So I hate to say this, and I don't want to throw stones, but I think a lot of these UK guys are just very biased in their commentary. You could see it too, and hear it when they're commentating on fights. How they just go with
Yeah,
the homer.
I agree, but it's weird though because he's picking against the UK fighter. Like I've seen it oftentimes.
Well, again, he's been in camp with Wilder. He kind of has a relationship, like kind of yeah. So they're kind of friendly.
Well, then he should just say that. He should just say that and be honest about his feelings. I'll be honest with you. These biased commentary to me doesn't totally ruin the fight watching experience, but it does negatively affect it. The last time that happened was actually pretty recently for me. It was the Roy Jones commentary during the Usyk Joshua fight. I thought it was terrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, the guy was losing rounds and he wouldn't stop talking about how well he was doing. You know, it was worse than what Joshua was hearing in the corner from his own guys.
Yeah,
and they were gassing him up.
Thank you, D Style, for $2 super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard when you watch a UK broadcast to get unbiased commentary. It's just hard. It's just very bad. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up, man. I'm gonna watch the DAZN card. Get ready for the fights.
I've been watching it we're in the fourth round right now of the Courtney Mitchell fight.
Yeah, so catch up with you guys later. I'm sure we'll be texting during the fight tonight.
100%.
Everyone, stay safe. Have a great one. Talk to y'all soon. Make sure you catch us out.
Absolutely.
On Thursday for the roundtable on D-Style Boxing. The Big 5-0 is coming up this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you check the Ringside Reporter out tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time as well. We're gonna have a lot to talk about. A lot of things to talk about with this big fight happening on Saturday. But until then, talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Stay safe, and we will see you next time. Peace out.
Stay on for a sec if you can.
Sure.